Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are continuing the 3 Book Bloggers 1 series read-along, and we're discussing the 3rd book in the Night Huntress series, At Grave's End by Janine Frost. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. You can talk about the series with us there as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. You can find all 3 of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available right now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. We get even more candid, so if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come over onto Patreon and sign up there. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion after all, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. We've got a fun hour ahead of us, so let's get started. So today we are covering Book 3, At Grave's End. As always, joining me are the 3 Book Bloggers 1 series co-hosts, Casey and Nicola. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Morning. Yes. So before we dive in, we want to be sure to welcome everyone listening as well as our read-along friends listening inside the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group. If you want to get in on this discussion as well as chatting live with other readers, be sure to join us on Facebook. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to dive right on in. Casey, would you mind running down the book stats?
So this is the 3rd book in the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost. It was published first in 2009 by Avon, and the book has 354 pages. The audiobook was narrated by Tavia Gilbert and is 9 hours and 26 minutes long.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And for those who finished the book a while back, like me, or haven't started yet, Nicola, would you mind giving us the synopsis?
Sure thing. Some things won't stay buried at Grave's End. It should be the best time of half-vampire Cat Crawfield's life. With her undead lover Bones at her side, she's successfully protected mortals from the rogue undead. But though Cat's worn disguise after disguise to keep her true identity a secret from the brazen bloodsuckers, her cover has finally been blown, placing her in terrible danger. If that wasn't enough, a woman from Bones' past is determined to bury him once and for all. Caught in the crosshairs of a vengeful vamp, yet determined to help Bones stop a lethal magic from being unleashed, Cat's about to learn the true meaning of bad blood. And the trick she's learned as a special agent won't help her. She will need to fully embrace her vampire instincts in order to save herself and Bones from a fate worse than the grave. There's a lot of alliteration in that synopsis. Vengeful vamp and bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
Bloodsucker.
Rogues.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And to me, like this book or audiobook listen, rather for me, it was like a movie. It was so fast moving. The plot was so speedy and snappy. Like it still is a little hard for me to remember exactly what happened in the beginning of the book. So you guys are going to have to take me back to the beginning if that's where we're going to start. Because I'm like the high parts. Yeah, I got like the high action scenes and the pivotal moments I've got. But like the little things, I'm like, what happened? I don't know. Okay, where do you want to start, guys?
Well, just leaving off from the last book, there's, Mankiras can see the future. He's kind of got this foresight, right? And he has seen that there's going to be a war. So we know that that's going on. And we saw at Bones and Cat's joining ceremony, I guess, in the last book that there are some enemies out there, right? So I think that's one of the things to keep in mind. But the opening scene was one of Cat's sort of normal seduce and stake operations, right? They're at a bar and they're trying to isolate a bad guy, and someone blows her cover. And then it all goes haywire, and so they talk about how that keeps happening. So we're looking at like they're going to have to change their strategy for the special agent operations part.
and they come up with a plan that sounds really great. I mean,
no, it didn't.
I mean, to me, to me, the plan seemed okay because, I mean, who's gonna want to stab Bones in the back, right? You wouldn't logically think someone would want to do that, but some people are dumb. Some people are dumb.
Belinda's a bitch, and she's dumb to boot. Like she is.
Yep. Yeah, so they decide to try Belinda instead of Kat, and that does not go well.
And of all the places, so they choose to use her at a Chuck E. Cheese. Like, okay, like let's use her on the first thing we have to do with kids involved. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a great idea. Let's test it there.
The humor in these books is really, I mean, I'm just picturing her stabbing one of those big mouse suit things. just and all the kids are like, "Mommy, make it stop!"
Mayhem at the Chuck E. Cheese, like.
And it's not written to be funny,
no.
But when you're visualizing, it's just hysterical.
And Kat seems like these kids are going to be traumatized for 10 minutes. Bones comes in and Green Eyes all of them.
Yeah, like they're going to be like terrified, probably nightmares for life, but he fixed them.
Yeah, he fixed them.
Oh, if only real life, we could just be green-eyed and just forget the nasty parts. Let's just, that would be nice, but.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But you missed the most important scene right between those two scenes. Bones and Cats get officially human engaged.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes. That was
and he
cute.
gave her the big ring. And that's very cute.
Oh.
On his knee, went down on his knee, did it all up.
All old fashioned and legit, like humans like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to plan this huge wedding, and Kat's already like, the menu, we have to have food, and we have to have blood, and we have to have things for ghouls. It's like, it's gonna be a crazy wedding.
Speaking of food, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but it's not for the plot. But when they went down to the like lower levels of Mankira's hideaway, and there was like the buffet there.
That was a little crazy.
The extra arms? Like, what?
Like, let me just, like, tape an arm on. You can pull it off.
Is that at the party or at his house?
I thought that was at his house, but I don't, it could have been.
Because there was the party before they all blew up where they're, like, painted in glitter.
Oh, yeah.
At the party.
Glitter.
Yeah, okay, that was where the extra arms were. You're right.
Yeah, the party,
the gala, I guess.
But then at his house, he had that harem downstairs of the people who are eating too much garlic and onion.
Oh my god!
Not brushing their teeth well enough.
Oh, that guy was. Oh my god! He's like, man, you reek. You're so. He's like, I'm the best one here. Okay, I'm the tastiest. If you know it. He's like, no,
not if you taste like garlic.
Right. Like, no.
Well, maybe some people like garlic.
Not that much garlic. I understand Bones. Not that damn much. Okay. But actually, and that was also where Tate kind of came back in. Like he brought her down there to kind of show her what was what going on. And then that was the part we're talking about, right? Where Bones goes downstairs, he brings Kat with him. And then Tate shows up.
It's Juan.
Oh, Juan.
Changed.
Juan shows up.
Right.
He's changed. He's like, he's so, every time I hear his voice through Tavia, he's like, oh, Karina, it's so nice to see you. He's trying to grab a little ass.
That's right.
Great.
I was like, do you think I can't see you?
I know. He's like, wow. He's so excited. He's like, I can be the freak I want now, and everything's great. It's just the best. Like, whoo. What a life.
It is. Juan is the perfect vampire. Or the vampire life is perfect for Juan.
Yes.
He is the biggest hoe, man. He is the biggest.
But he's so good natured about it. He's not creepy,
No. That's why it's like, that's just Juan. Don't bother with him. He's the freak of the week. It's fine. He's fine. Fine. Totally he's fine. A good guy, though. It's funny. But yeah, that was fun. So there were like a lot of, like you said, comedic relief almost woven throughout this book. And I guess it was needed because of some of the dramatic, shocking, OMG
drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, the magic was kind of a new element. And I'm trying to remember, I guess maybe I shouldn't try to remember ahead, but it seems like it's a little different in this book, right? So we get the witchcraft or the spells, and we haven't seen that before in this series.
No, this is the first time we've ever seen magic.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of thrown by like the whole Patra is like Cleopatra type, like she's old as dirt, like legit old, and it's like Mancaries is just letting her run all over the place, wreaking havoc. Let's talk. I can't believe he allowed that, but we can get into that.
You find out a little more in his book about his side of the story, but again, that's future spoilery stuff. So, but as it is right now, it looks bad.
It is bad. This bitch going around.
It is bad.
She's going around doing crazy things like, kidnapping people, making them work for her, do her bidding, blowing up houses.
Explode.
And of course she is bringing the grave, right? She brought the grave. She is crazy.
I got the sense though that this is new for her, right? Like she might have just not done anything that terrible for the last, I don't know, 500 years, but she's got it in for Bones, and this declaration of war has been like, that's what's motivating all this stuff in this book, right? So it's not like she's been doing that for 2,000 years, I don't think.
True. Very true.
But I don't think she was sitting quietly by the side.
Knitting socks.
Yeah, no, she wasn't knitting socks.
No.
She was definitely doing something.
And actually,
learning magic.
Right.
Probably.
She's probably getting herself ready and planning. But if you really want to think about it, it's really all Mancary's fault, because it is all his fault. Because you never tell people their future. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to say, hey, I see this guy who has someone standing next to you, standing over you. I mean, you don't tell someone how they died. Now they know what they're looking for. They know, and I think that kind of put the wheel in motion even harder than it probably would have been. You know what I mean?
Self-fulfilling.
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy and all of that. It's like, why can't you keep your mouth shut? And then and it's like he tries to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? He's trying to play offense, right? So he knows what she's doing. So he's like, hey, Bones, come join lines with me. I want this for us, without telling him. And of course, Kat's like, what? Wait, what? Why are you doing this? What's going on? And he kind of tried to help him, but he also hurt them at the same time. So, that's rough. And I kind of feel bad for him a little bit, but I'm like, you're so old and so powerful to be such a sucker. I don't understand.
I mean,
the love of a good woman,
I guess,
or a bad one.
Something. She has something else good going on.
Yeah,
this is a very twisty plot. I thought there's a lot going on in this book.
There is.
Yeah, it jumps from Kat being recognized at work to Belinda to her dad showing up and torturing her to finding out that somebody's paying him to do this, and it reaches to Patra eventually, but it's so batshit bananas convoluted.
I mean, that whole, so first when Justina calls and she's like, oh, Kat, I apologize. Let's try to come together. let's talk about the wedding. She's like, are there. I'm like, wait a minute, that was too damn happy. Okay, she's too damn happy, but she skips her little self over there. Hey, man, and surprise, your daddy's here trying to torture us. I mean, that was the worst. I'm like, that guy needs to die. He just needs to die.
Well, he's not dead yet. But he's wishing he was, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, because they're torturing him. I mean,
for decades.
Which
I kind of
I would have wanted to see that scene, actually. I wanted
yes.
I was just going to say, I kind of appreciate that was off page.
No, I want to see it. I want to tell me all the stuff you do so I can imagine it and be like, oh my God. I mean, because he tried to make it sound like I am such a monster, what I'm going to do to him. You are going to never look at me the same. It was so stuck in his brain that she wasn't as ruthless as he is, which she was wrong. But I want to see it. Like, if you're that bad, show it to me. I want to see.
I also thought that it kind of made Kat look weak. Like, she couldn't stand to be there, and she's more human than vampire, and she has to be like sequestered away and healing. And she should have been there to not necessarily save face, but prove to everybody like, oh yeah, he tortured me, but I'm still here. I'm the one who came out on top.
Yeah.
But Justina got hers, and she's like, I'm going. And he's like, fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
You think you can handle it? Whatever.
Well, I think, was it Spade that said, well, Bones doesn't care what they think about him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was Justina and somebody else that went along. Tate, maybe?
Rodney.
Yeah.
I think it was Rodney.
Yeah.
Rodney probably went. Rodney and Justina.
Yeah, it's because they were going to talk about that relationship.
Oh, God.
So
that
funny.
was hilarious when they caught them, and like Bones is like, he heard them, and he's like, okay, let's just get there.
We're gonna go. I want to catch them. This is gonna be hilarious.
And then he catches them, and he's laughing, and Rodney's embarrassed, and oh my gosh,
Stina's mad, and Kat's like,
still calling him all kind of names, and she just. That's funny. She's like,
filthy
are you
animal.
kidding me, Mom?
Yeah, filthy animal.
Right, you filthy animal. Like, you're talking bad about me. Look what you're doing over here. Okay, lady, let's stop with this madness.
Yeah. And then she shows up at the party and she's all glowing and yeah.
She's
I
looking
won't tell
happy.
Grandma if you don't. Yeah, because she's finally getting some.
Yeah.
Time since Kat.
Yeah, after 20 some years, yeah.
And he cooks for her.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good. That's a good deal.
Yeah. That's 2 for 1. Yeah. I think that's cute, though. I feel like that's going to force her. And it's already kind of changed her in this book a little bit.
Yes.
She still talks shitty to Bones, but it's kind of like in this, I hate you, but I like you for my daughter kind of way.
Yeah, I think that whole filthy animal thing is turning into almost like a joke.
Yeah.
So she's still going to call him that, but it's kind of not.
It's like a term of endearment.
Almost, yeah.
It's like you filthy animal.
Like, you big lug,
Right.
I do like how Justina's character changes in this series.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I did laugh when she stood up to Ian, though. And she's like, you're the one who fucking turned Max and Bones and just like tried to put him down.
This is all your
He
fault.
turned around it and dished it right back to her.
Yep.
That made me fall in love with Ian. I was like,
that was a great scene. It
was the best scene.
Yeah.
He's like, I changed him because, he was ruthless and that's what I needed. So what?
So why not?
But Justina had 2 discoveries. So she figured out about Ian, but she also figured out about Don. She didn't know about Don.
Yeah,
that's right.
She didn't.
And then she tried to blame him. You're going to have my daughter out here. And he's like, excuse me? What was she doing when I found her? And then she's like, oh, I guess we're both doing the same thing. We're awful people. So,
yes, you are.
Yeah. Talk about pot calling the kettle, right? Like, get out of here, girl.
Totally.
Yeah, so she has some reality checks along with her love of Rodney or lust of Rodney for now. It's changing her for sure.
You said earlier that you thought it was kind of a movie-like, and I was thinking when I was reading it that we should all like go after Netflix, right? Because these scenes are really vivid to me. They're very visual. Like I could totally see that the big zombie scene at the end, and the big parties, the lavish vampire events, like the one where after after they thought Bones was dead, and Kat took on all of the challenges, and fought like 8 or 9 challengers at once. I mean, all those things would be amazing on a big screen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Netflix is definitely the one to do it, because they could take something dark like this with adult themes and do it properly. Netflix pushed the limit. They don't care. They like,
right.
you're paying to be here.
Or HBO could do it too.
Or HBO, yeah, one of those two, because everybody else would make it softer.
Yeah, some of the sexy stuff might be a little much for the screen as a series, but chapter 32
I mean,
might be a little much.
Netflix will do it. Okay,
Netflix will do it.
I mean, they're not gonna show the stuff,
right.
but what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Pan out and just listen to the screaming.
Right. This is not Max After Dark or whatever, but they would get really like, you're like, oh, I mean, HBO too, they show full frontals on men and women. In Game of Thrones.
They would get bloody too. Like the fight scenes would be that vicious, that bloody, that violent. So yeah, Netflix, HBO.
Yeah, and they have the budgets to do the CG work for these kind of like all the zombie stuff. I mean, it has to look good, so they have the budgets to do it. Let's start a campaign. Let's do it.
Who's with us?
Yeah, like literally, like this would be so good on screen, I feel like, and you wouldn't even have to adapt a lot. I feel like
maybe with the first book, because it was a little slow with the world building, but this book especially would be really easy to do.
I was just thinking I was thinking of that opening scene in the first book, though, and she's driving along and she's got bodies in the truck that are leaking blood, and she gets pulled over, and she's like, "Cherries, live on a cherry farm."
That would be amazing.
You just see like the camera pan down to a bloody knife, on the floorboards or something, and then it's not cherries.
Oh, that would be so good. And they need to hire us to help them, because we would make it. We know what's going on. We won't steer you wrong. Oh yeah. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about, guys? There's so much.
I mean, I could rant about Tate, but do we want to get that?
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm down for it. I can't with Tate. Like, I can't with you, man. Yes, high five.
I can't with him.
He is an asshole. Like, okay, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, he is like super obsessed with her. And it's scary.
Stalker obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over the line, like way over the line.
And she's telling him, like that scene they're in the carnival or whatever, and they're like trying to have them make out and all this other stuff. And Kat's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe, like, and he's like, oh, you felt it. I feel it. I'm like, shut up. What's wrong with you? Like, just stop. Everything you do is cringy to me right now.
That whole scene was awful, right? In a good way, but awful, right? So there's a scene where they're being kidnapped, and they're trying to prove basically that she's not Kat, that she's somebody else. So the vampires are like, well, Bones might let you make out, but he's not going to tolerate, if you go all the way. And so he's like wanting him to do it right there in the limo with 4 vampires watching.
But they get so scary close. They get real close before.
And they can smell, right?
Yeah.
So that was like a moment in there where she's like, oh, they know that I'm not really into it. Like, oh, now what do I do? I'm like, ew, this is ew.
And then, I mean, he does try to cover, like, it's these people here, he's trying to like make her like kind of croon her into feeling more relaxed. But I'm like, it is so gross. And I'm like, this is the last thing you need to be doing to try to convince him that you're not about him. And he was enjoying himself, man. He would have been dead. He would have been so dead.
it's pretty amazing that he's not dead.
Yeah.
It's very amazing. Yeah.
So.
And that weird like backstory fantasy he had where he's like, I've known Dawn for 3 years before I met you.
Right.
Dawn just found you 6 months earlier. We would have been together and you never would have met Bones. And even she's like, no, I'd be dead. Because if I didn't train with Bones, somebody would have killed me, or Bones would have found me and killed me, or
yeah.
He's like, no, we would be together.
No, he's delusional. Because like now, and Kat's right. I feel like she's right. She definitely wouldn't have survived another 6 months alone doing what she was doing. Especially let her come across someone much stronger than who she had before, and she would have been done. So
it's true.
Yeah. I don't know.
If she had met Bones, she would have been done. Like he would have killed her or been interested in her. But, you know.
Like stop with the shoulda, woulda, couldas, man. Like this isn't the reality. Okay, so just stop. And he did. He tried. I think he did become a vampire for her, even though he swore up and down that wasn't the reason. It was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, just to catch the readers up from where we're at in the story, I think we're getting into the point where Bones almost dies, right?
Yeah.
We want to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
But continuing with Tate, right? That moment where he like puts his arm around her and she like stabs him. He's like
right next to his heart,
really close.
She's like, you take one more, you do one more thing, and your ass is grass, man. Basically. Like, I don't have time for this shit. Like, don't try to take advantage. You know what I mean? Like,
you think you could just slide in here?
Right.
No.
Like, that guy, he just fucking died. Like, get out of here. Like, what is wrong with you?
It's been 2 hours at most, if that. And he's already trying to make a move.
She's supposed to fall into his arms, spread her legs, and be like, oh, Tate. Like, I swear to God, that is what he thought. That is what he thought. Like, are you stupid? But that is what he thought. Like, let's not get it.
That's why I hate him. That's why I hate him so much.
Like, he's just lying in wait all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, to show somebody better, Vlad shows up, and Vlad's there.
Vlad is awesome.
Scene with her standing on the cliffs, and Vlad's right there just talking to her. That moment just sealed it for me. I was like, Vlad forever. I love you, Vlad.
I mean, he's the brother you didn't know you wanted, because he's really scary, but when it comes down to it, if he respects you, he's got your back, and he wasn't going to let her do it. He wasn't going to let her do it.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a romantic thing. Like, yes, he could have fallen in love with her, and he knew that, but that wasn't what he was doing it for. He was doing it for her own good and for her love of Bones. And if Tate had been that kind of man, maybe I could like him. Maybe.
And also because of his own history with his
wife.
Mortal wife, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was a wonderful scene, and Vlad is like one of the coolest characters in this series.
He is. Amazing. He's so badass, and it's like, and he did what he said to her made a lot of sense. Like, are you tuning in as a human, or are you vampire? Like, what are you? Who are you? Like, you're not acting. You should be acting. What would Bones do? You know, he would try to murder everyone. What are you doing? About to jump off a cliff, silly girl? No, basically. And it's like, it did, like, he put it much more nicely than I did, but it kind of made her snap like into place. Like, wait a minute,
I've got shit to do.
I've got stuff to take care of. You know, she's not promising she won't off herself later, but she's going to get revenge first.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, not going down the Romeo and Juliet path.
Oh, that's exactly what that would have been. He would have got back and that would have been oh my God. And the fact that Tate did do one decent thing for her, and that was getting her the sleeping pills so she could actually sleep. She needed to sleep.
Let Bones follow him back to the house.
Yes, but that was not on purpose. He didn't mean to do that, but that worked out that way.
Yeah.
But she was like,
did Dawn set that up though? Because Bones had gotten through to Dawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dawn came and got him.
So
And
maybe Dawn made that kind of happen.
Yeah, I mean, when Tate called for the meds, he probably just said, "Oh, here, this is your chance to, find out where they're at," which is good on Dawn for doing that. But I do think she was like, and everyone there, all her people now were telling her, like, "You're running on fumes, girl. You need to sleep. You cannot go like this." So, she needed it. And then when she wakes up, that scene was crazy. She's like, "Is this a dream? Let me stay asleep. Don't wake
me up."
Like,
because she's so drugged out of her mind.
Yeah. Well, she was sleeping. You get pulled out of a drug sleep and you're confused. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad. She thought it was like a dream for real. He had to convince her. Like, oh. Drink some of this blood and then you'll wake up.
Shake it off.
Shake it off, woman.
I was going to say, I've had those mornings where I wake up and I'm like, what day is it? What time is it? What is happening?
Yeah.
And I have to look at my phone to be like, okay, it's 9:00 on a Saturday. I don't have to be at work.
Yeah.
I'm good. I can keep sleeping.
But were you guys surprised at all that Bones wasn't dead? I wasn't.
Not really. I mean, first of all, it's a reread, and second of all, there's 5 more books. So,
there's that. There's that.
The first time I read it, I don't think book 4 had come out yet.
Okay.
So, this was 2009, 2010, whenever I was reading it. And I
were reading it in real time, more or less.
I was reading it in real time, so book 4 wasn't out yet. So I had that just horrific, like, oh shit, she actually killed him off. Now rereading it, no, of course I don't think that anymore.
Right.
At the future books. But the first time I read it, I had that shock.
I don't know. I felt like even though I know I've read the whole thing. I know that they're still alive. I've read the spinoffs. They're still there. But I still feel like this book was like a nice surprise for me. I feel like I must have forgotten so much of the first few books that it really was sort of like new to me. Like something will happen and then I'll say, oh, that's right. That did happen. I remember, so it wasn't like I went into this book remembering the entire story. It was kind of refreshing to me like that I did remember everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember a lot once I've finished a series. It's been a couple of years since I read it. So it's fun to reread, but there are certain things that you just know are not going to stick, right? So, but I think she does a good job of making everybody believe it. And the other thing is, when she was thinking about killing herself, and you're like, okay, but he's going to come back. You're like, oh no, don't do that.
Don't do it.
So your mind starts going. At least my mind starts going down. Like, oh, what if she did? Then that would be a whole different book. But it'd be,
it'd be Romeo and Juliet,
right?
I mean, even Annette, I liked more in this book. Like,
I loved Annette in this book.
Yeah, I mean, after Bones died, I mean, even when Bones picked her up, and they came and I think Annette was there when they kind of rescued her from her daddy. After that, I mean, you could tell that she
lost her luggage.
Yeah, she lost her luggage. You could tell that they had a respect for each other, Kat and Annette, even though, Kat kind of just accepted her as a part of like Bones' family, even though she kind of hates her still. But after Bones was dead, I mean, Annette went fucking mad. She was like, oh, I have to go in here and console Annette.
Right.
All people, she's like, oh my God,
That really was a turning point for them, right? Because she could see how much Annette really cared about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I think they just, they're cool. They're cool peeps. They're cool with each other.
And that was a moment, that was a little bit of foreshadowing too about how Kat was going to take care of all of Bones' people, right? So she's like, okay, this is me. This is my role now. I got to do this. So I liked that scene.
And then the very next scene where she accepted as co-ruler and 8 vampires tried to kill her right then and there.
Yeah.
It's like, bring it on. Let's do it. And she took them down. Unbelievable.
And Mancuries was going to champion for her. And she's like, nope, I'm going to do this. And she did.
I think it was Spade.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Men Carries, like they're both like, we can kill them for you, and she's like, no,
that won't
I'm gonna rip their spines out.
And I respect Kat so much for that, because having someone do it for you is not the same. You know, we just got finished hearing Bones say, I need to show people what happens when you go against me. She just got finished hearing that speech.
Yep.
So there's no way she was going to let somebody stand in for her, because she needs to prove, I will kill you if you come for me. And she did that. She did it.
Well, not only that, but, you know, the whole, I guess the thread through this is that there's a turncoat in Bones's organization. There's somebody that's that gave him up, and it's somebody that he trusted, because everybody that was there were, you know, part of his inner circle that he trusted deeply. So if you have somebody do all that stuff for you, there's always that possibility, you know, that they could be compromised.
Yes. Yeah. That was crazy. But that was such a good moment. And then I'm like, wow, she's like the head of, you know, kind of, even though Bones comes back, I think she kind of still remains like just as respected.
Worthy. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Because she proved, you know, if he's gone, she can take care of shit.
Which is important, but okay.
It's Kat. It's what she does. She takes care of shit.
Yeah. And then I did feel bad for what's her name? I can't remember her name right now. Kat's best friend. Oh, Denise. Oh. So you know, they have that whole, they're in the house for a holiday. Basically, New Year's holiday, when like the dead come for them.
Yeah.
The zombies.
The zombies. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad that she lost her husband. She was so distraught. It's like, oh, damn. And she's like, bring him back. Like, no, you can't. He's dead. Sorry. I felt bad for her.
Oh, absolutely. I loved him. He was such a sweet guy. And what was it? The 1 foot in the grave? Like with their whole wedding thing. And he was actually good friends with Bones. Like they had a solid friendship.
Yeah.
Well, he was the one that put the back doors into all of the tech systems at that first compound, so that allowed Kat to like get the drop on Dawn. So,
yeah, no, he was a great guy, and I was really sad.
Yeah.
It was sad, but I will say that I've never felt like Denise is a very fleshed out character. She always seems a little bit like an afterthought to me. And I think it's because I don't know if there was something that got cut from a book or whatever, but in the second book, she's like, oh, here's my best friend that you've never met. And we've been good friends for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And it just like, she just kind of comes up at moments of convenience. So I of all the characters, and I know that she gets one of the spin-off books, I believe. But I don't know. She just, I think it's not the best character. So,
well, I don't think it's her. I don't think it's like the character's fault for being, you know, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say.
I do. I don't dislike her. I just don't. I feel like as far as the writing goes, she's underdeveloped.
Which she
not
is.
Just because while she knows about vampires and she knows the world, she's not really a part of it yet.
Right.
Like she's still fully human, but she can be at their vampire party.
Sure. But what I'm saying is that Frost hasn't sold me that she's that important to Kat, that she's an important part of Kat's life.
Well, we talked about that last month when we're like, well, how did they get best? Are they best friends? Like how, you know, we really didn't see that relationship develop enough probably at this point in book 3, but kind of having read the spinoffs, you think about it a little bit differently. But and I think, and if you want to know more about her, you should read her book.
Sure, but it I mean, if you're reading chronologically, it hasn't happened yet.
When does her book take place? Is it far down the road or kind of close to here?
I think it's after book 4.
Okay.
I think. I'll have to double check.
Casey's the keeper of the reading order.
Yes. I
just look at the list on her website.
No, I'm like, I defer to Casey for the reading order.
Miss Editor Brain.
Yeah.
On the website. I don't have it memorized, but I keep referring back to it.
Yeah. But I think getting her individual story does make me more care about her. Thus, I think, this is why I feel really bad for her now, because I know her story already.
Yeah.
But first time around, you are correct. I don't think I cared as much. I mean, it's bad, it's sad, but
that's why we're here, is talking about the strengths and weaknesses and pros and cons. And that's just my take on Denise right now, is like she's not as developed as she could be, and I haven't really bought into the idea that she's that crucial to Kat as a friend.
Can I ask what you would like to see as a reader to make her more developed?
Well, a little bit more page time for starters. She only kind of shows up when the plot between Kat and Bones requires something, like Randy showing up and the wedding happening, or Denise setting her up with the veterinarian, right? So she feels a little bit more like a plot device than a friend right now. So like they don't talk at the party, right? There's no scene where Kat's like telling Denise, "Oh my God, I can't wait to tell you what's been going on with me, and look at my ring," and doing the things that girlfriends do,
Well, they had their own little dinner date earlier on, like right before they found Justina with Rodney, where it was the four of them having dinner and talking and kind of catching up on life. But coming from like a pacing editorial standpoint, you can't have a lot of those scenes of like girlfriends catching up, because it's really slow and mundane and repetitive for the reader, and the reader just wants to keep going, if that makes sense.
Well, then she needs to be part of the subplot somehow, right? So where they're actually doing things together, and maybe Denise is with her when she goes to visit her mother, and I don't know, but she just doesn't seem to be. She only shows up when there's a reason in the plot that like they need a tech guy or they need a best friend. So,
which is true as well. But I think that not having all that extra fluff is part of the reason why I love this series so much. Although I get what you're saying, Nicole, and I agree. It would make me care more about Denise if I knew more about her at this point in time. But at that same time, keeping these stories tight and fast and moving is what makes them so exciting to read. And if we knew more about Denise without using her in a plot, without using her in another way, it would probably be boring.
Well, then maybe Denise doesn't need to be in the series.
Yeah, but I think that is probably why she ended up giving Denise her own book, because people didn't know a lot about her. They needed to find a way to get her with some person. And, and that's why she said, well, I'll do more for Denise in this way. I don't know.
That's my own reaction. And, it doesn't, I'm not sure it passes the Bechdel test, if we want to talk about that. Annette is way more interesting, right? Maybe it's because she's a vampire, but I feel like for whatever reason, Kat doesn't connect with other women, right? So she has a terrible relationship with her mom. Her and Annette were like oil and water there until for 3 books, and Denise is just kind of So. And I love a good best friend dialogue, and I don't get that here.
I do love, and I just got finished saying that on my little mini review of the first 5 chapters of the new Sarah J. Maas book. I love when there are 2 strong women that are like best friends, like family friends, and they have a good friend circle, and it's like legit. There's no jealousy, there's no animosity. Like that feels good to read. So seeing them team up and do something, or that would feel good to read to me if there was a way to do it.
Oh yeah. Dorinda Jones is really good at doing that.
Yeah.
Davidson series, Charlie and Cookie have an amazing relationship like that.
Yeah.
And in her new book, Betwixt, the main character has a best friend, and it's exactly like Charlie and Cookie. Like it's that same,
right.
that same friendship.
In contemporaries, Victoria Dahl is really good at writing those kind of characters, and Jennifer Crusie hasn't written anything recently, but her stuff in the 90s was really good for that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, maybe for those reading first time, I don't know, maybe we'll get more. I don't really remember. I feel like it's first time for me because I don't really remember. When I get to it, I'll remember.
Yeah, so if you're listening or watching, tell us what you think about Denise.
Yeah, for sure.
And Tate and Vlad and everything else.
Yeah,
this book. We want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, now that you guys know, if you don't know, that Vlad has his own spinoff, does this book make you more curious about him? Does it make you want to read about him, or do you not really care about him that much still? I'd love to know.
Okay, so the first time I read the book, I was like, hell yeah, I need more Vlad. Sign me up right away.
For sure.
So, I mean, he's great.
Yeah.
I actually read Vlad's book first, and so it was a little, I wouldn't recommend that. So like having that anticipation would have been better. So I might have to go back and reread it. Although I might have to buy it again because I don't know where it went.
This reminds me, you guys remind me to talk about Vlad's book. I have a comment on that in the after show. And if you guys want to know what the after show is, you need to follow on Patreon. Okay.
Very subtle. Very subtle. I appreciate that.
Of course. Anytime. So what else is going on in this book that we should be making sure we cover?
I mean, we hit all the big highlights, but there's just so much.
Mm-hmm. They kept moving compounds. I thought that was interesting. They moved compounds like 4 times in this book. Every time they realized that Patra was sort of onto them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Patra, we didn't talk much about her. You guys want to talk about her real quick?
Sure.
So let's talk about her a little bit. What did you guys think about Petra as like the main villain of this book?
Liked it.
Did you? Yeah. Was she bad enough? Was she evil enough? Did she do enough that we felt?
Well, she was pretty off page, right? So she was kind of like this omnipotent evil being that we never really interacted much with, except when she showed up at the one ceremony.
And no, at the very end too.
And at the the end, but we didn't really see her. We were just like afraid of her, which wasn't. I'm not. It's not a critique, but she didn't seem like a character particularly.
Kind of like a dark, shadowy entity that you're scared of in the background.
Right. A little bit like the Omega in the Black Dagger Brotherhood, right?
I just thought that, Nicholas. Just thought it.
Now it always comes back to the BDB, but
yes.
But yeah, she's not like a 3-dimensional character. She's just bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how they finally killed her, thank goodness. Thanks to Kat for figuring out what was the sleeper cell in the house.
Right.
Like they needed to catch, like if they killed or destroyed whatever it was that was brought into that house, then all of the dead would just drop.
The token.
And Annette and others were tearing up that house. They were smashing everything they could find to see kind of like what the talisman was or whatever.
Right.
And it ended up being a person, a vampire.
Yep.
Called Anubis.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, she kind of snarks Vlad into taking care of it. He's like, he's too far. He's like, what are you here for? Like, you're
fucking Dracula. Do it.
Like, right. He's like, oh. And they save the day together. They save the day, and then they take out Patra. Bye, B. Bye-bye. So, that was, I was satisfied with everything. I
think so too. Like, I'm not complaining about her needing to be more of a character. I think it worked out the way it was, that she's kind of this, we got a little bit of backstory between her and Mankira's, and it worked for me. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, it definitely worked.
And now Bones, let's not forget Bones has a new skill because of his power.
Mind reading.
Yes, now he can. Oh, that is the
and
worst.
dying, but coming back.
Right, and that.
But mind reading.
I hate to be with somebody who could read my mind. That is not fair. That is not fair.
No, that would be relationship challenging for sure.
Yes, it would.
Uh-huh.
It would. So, okay. So if that's it, I think we should go ahead and rate the book. Shall we?
Yeah.
Ready to rate
Let's
it?
do it.
Yeah.
Okay, Nicola, how about you first?
I'm going with 4. I love this series. I think that I don't know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So I'm not going with 5 on a lot of the individual books, but the series is a 5.
Okay, Casey.
I'm going with a 5. I honestly think this might be my favorite book in the entire series. It cements my hatred of Tate, but we're just going to skim past that and be like, everything else was really great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's part of why it's great, right? Because it's bringing the strong feelings.
The strong feelings, the emotions, the nonstop action. I could go into the editorial stuff, but I won't. Yes, 5 stars.
Okay, awesome. So the first time around, I rated this 4, but I do feel like it's more of 5 now. I feel like I was more, and you guys know I don't hand out the 5s. But I was thinking, like, when I finished it, I actually did say, wow, I think that was a 5. And when I went back and looked, I'm like, oh, I didn't rate it a 5 the first time. So that's
it grows on you.
Yeah, so I'm in the 5 bucket. I just thought it was so much going on and so much that I enjoyed, and I just had a great time when I was engaged with it. So, and yeah, this probably is one of the. Actually, no, I have a couple more 5s now that I'm looking on Goodreads. So it's not the best of series, but it's definitely up there for me. So.
I mean, I'm rating all the books 5 stars, but out of the series, I think this one's my top favorite.
Okay.
I have to reread the rest, but this is like right up there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So off of our, legitimate, like, official reading list, we are going to read book 3.5 in the Facebook group, and we're going to do a video thing over there. If you want to check that out after this, it's Devil to Pay. But on our official reading list, book 4 is Destined for an Early Grave, and that is what we are doing next month. And I'm excited. I'm super excited. Oh my God, I'm looking. I rated that one a 5 too. Let's see what I'm super excited for that. So yeah, be here to join us for book 4 next month, and join us for the in-between books on Facebook. And if you want to comment, let us know what you thought of our comments here on today's show. Feel free to find us on social media and in Facebook again. And Facebook. And that is it. You guys have anything else before we sign off?
No, we covered it.
Okay. All right, guys. Until next time, happy reading. Take care, everybody.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that love pop culture, from books and audiobooks to TV and movies. I'll see you next time here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast.